to use this podium is to intrigue a lot of young minds which are listening to me right now, is to ask some questions which are very, very tough to answer, because we have answered so many questions about cancer, but we have not reached to the best of the treatment which is actually benefiting patients in a longer run. So cancer is still a disease which is killing people. So the aim for me to intrigue you, to ask difficult questions. You can ask to me, or you can ask to yourself, and probably some of you will take that question further in your research career. So with that, let me start with something which you have already been studying in your textbook, which is the cancer is a multi-step process. Okay, and it occurs due to accumulation of cancer-causing mutations in the genome of our cell. This is very basic definition which we all have been studying about cancer, right? So cancer starts as a function of cancer is seen as a function of age. It means that the people who are older, elderly age, they have maximum frequency of getting cancer, right? So cancer is an old age disease, is because it is studied that cancer is a multi-step process. It starts with the normal tissue. The initiation of the cancer occur because of the exposure of carcinogen, or the reason by which cancer can arise, and it takes a lot of years to actually initiate the event, and then it takes a lot of years to the initiating event to become a mild case, and then it becomes moderate, severe. Carcinoma in situ means it is not spread, and then started to invade into the neighboring tissue. So it takes around 15 to 20 years for the cancer to actually, from the initiation to the cancer stage, it takes years to develop. And this is a clonal evolution, means the cell which is of normal type, it starts accumulating some kind of mutation which makes this the cells to become hyperproliferative. These hyperproliferative cells accumulate more mutations, which gives it more advantage to grow. Ultimately, some other mutation which is required for the hyperproliferative population, the pre-cancerous population, to become cancerous, and then eventually the carcinoma occur. Mutation is taking 5 to 15 years to accumulate, and that is why you see that eventually it takes so many years for a cancer to actually manifest in the people. Okay, and now 2020 we have already catalogued 38 different type of cancer, with 2600 primary tumor is sequenced, and we know that in a pan cancer level what are the genes which is driving cancer. Okay, so we knew everything about the genetic basis of cancer, and we have invested so much money and time to understand this. But there are fundamental questions which were in our observations, and those are still unanswered. So let me take one by one. So let's see this. This observation came in 1977. Okay, the bombing. So this is about Hiroshima and Nagasaki bomb survivors. What they found is that the exposure to the radiation, okay, they are relatively different level of exposure, but the exposure of radiation did not change the frequency of these women to develop breast cancer. Okay, the first thing. And then also they did not find that has led them to actually develop cancer at the earlier age. So there is a set age, there is a average age which is already known for breast cancer. So bombing did not actually change they did not develop this cancer much earlier than what they would have generally developed. So it says that exposure to carcinogen is not the only cause by which they will develop cancer. Another most important observation they had is that women who had the age of 10 to 19 years at the time of bombing, they had much higher chances of developing breast cancer, which was 7-fold higher than the people than the women who were 35-year-old or older. So that they suggested in that paper is that the breast tissue of adolescent females may be more sensitive than those of older women to the effect of ionizing radiation. Okay, this is very important observation. Nobody knew how. Why certain cancers occur only in early ages. Okay, you don't get to see neuroblastoma in anyone who is older than 10 years. Okay, so neuroblastoma occur only in the young kids. Why some tissues have extremely rare cancer. So like heart, cornea, you don't hear that there is cancer in heart or there is cancer in cornea. So actually the adult eyes, they are cancer free. They are immune to get cancer. So heart, the eye in adults, they don't get cancer. That is extremely, extremely rare. And also why some cancers are more frequent than others. Okay, so let's see the example of this, the small intestine. Okay, you know that small intestine is 75% length of our whole GI tract. 25% is the large intestine, which is colon and rectum. So, but if you see the incidence of cancer, the small intestine develop less than 1 per 100,000 population, less than 1, very, very rare. So definition which is available in the textbook is the cancer multi-step process that occur due to accumulation of cancer-causing mutation in genome of our cell. Is this the only reason, or there are some missing pieces which we have to put to solve this puzzle? And probably that's the thing which is missing, and we have because we have not solved the puzzle yet, we don't have the cure for cancer. So that leads me to tell you about the stem cell origin of cancer, which is, so I'm going to go through some evidences which suggest that there is stem cell origin of cancer. So it again started early 1900s. The first theory which came is embryonal rest theory of cancer. Okay, so this theory suggested that in any adult organ, there are in the tissue of any adult organ, there are certain proportion of cell which looks like embryonic. So okay, so and it says that a change in the environment or disequilibrium, they didn't have this term anything else, but they told disequilibrium in the surrounding tissue. Okay, this is the field, the surrounding tissue they told as field. And also this embryonal rest theory is combined with the field theory. So it said that the changes in the field would allow the embryonic tissue to resume cell proliferation and to produce masses of cells that resembled fetal tissue. But because there was no scientific evidence, there was no experimental proof, so it was discredited. Further, that started to the field theory started to get some strength by students of Rudolf Virchow. You know that the person who gave us the cell theory. So his student Julius Cohen, he started to strengthen this field theory, and he told that that teratocarcinoma. Okay, I will tell you what is teratocarcinoma. The teratocarcinoma is the tissue which looks like embryonic of embryonic origin, and he suggested that the embryonal rest theory may be true. So what is teratocarcinoma? Most teratocarcinomas are made up of mixture of mature, differentiated tissue and fetal component, such as yolk sac and placental element. The malignant component of teratocarcinoma. So teratocarcinoma is cancerous. It develops like a tumor, is restricted to structure that contain embryonal cells. Okay, so if you take from the teratocarcinoma, if you take the cell type which looks like the embryonic cell type, if you take that and you implant again, you again develop teratocarcinoma. But if you take other parts, it doesn't develop. Okay, the embryoid body is usually just up to 1% of the total tumor mass. Okay, 99% of the teratocarcinoma is non-tumorigenic. If you take this 1% portion, you develop teratocarcinoma again. So to support this theory, we have I have put here the historical papers. So with the advantage of having the teratocarcinoma, So this is the paper. This is the paper which actually suggested the method for developing teratocarcinoma, which is transplanting normal germinal stem cells. You take normal germinal stem cells from the genital ridge. So it has the multipotency. So these are the germinal stem cells. So if you take the germinal stem cells from the genital ridge and you implant this in the normal adult mice testicles, okay, that mice will develop teratocarcinoma. Okay, this was the method which was published. So this again supported the stem cell origin of cancer. Okay, and then cells from such transplantable teratocarcinoma were injected into normal blastocyst. You take the teratocarcinoma cells which is developing cancer. You inject them into blastocyst. Okay. So the cancerous cell is taken, put into the blastocyst. The organism developed, and that organism developed like a normal without having any cancer. Okay, so that was the chimera. It developed without having any cancer, and that suggested the field theory. What is the field theory? The surroundings the surrounding cell has some disequilibrium, and because of that, cancer occurs. So if you put in the proper place, which is the blastocyst, the carcinogenic property of the teratocarcinoma is lost, and the normal organism is developed. That supported the field theory. Okay, so we all know that what is the embryonic stem cells? They have the self-renewal ability. They differentiate and make all different cell types. So when you come to the adult body, we have for each and every tissue we have the pool of stem cells. So like we have studied this in much more detail, though, so I can put this as an example in front of you that we have multipotent hematopoietic stem cell population which eventually develop all different kind of blood cells which we have in our body. By using this well-characterized model, leukemia has always given us the answer about cancer first. Okay, so what we develop in leukemia, we start to extrapolating in other cancers. So, and likewise, probably in 1997, we actually got the first evidence of cancer stem cells, which was by John Dick, and it was published in Nature Medicine. So what they suggested is that hematopoietic stem cell population, which is CD34 positive, CD38 negative. See, these CD markers are the cell surface markers which are expressed over the cell, and we have antibody against this. And then that by using the antibodies, we can actually identify them. So CD34 positive, CD38 negative population is the marker for hematopoietic stem cells. They actually serve as, when they are normal, they make different type of blood cells. But because of the mutation, they actually start behave corrupt, and they start to develop leukemia. So how the cancer stem cell was discovered from there? So you can actually isolate CD34 positive, CD38 negative population from the rest of the population. So CD34 positive, CD38 negative makes only 0.2 to 1% of the total cell. So more than 99% of the cell is actually non-tumorigenic. How? Because you take out the cell which is of CD34 positive, CD38 negative type, and these population was giving cancer back on the recipient mouse. But if you inject rest of the other population, which is more than 99% of the population, even though they had all the mutation which is required for cancer to grow, they were not able to generate secondary cancer in the mouse. So this they called as leukemia initiating population. It took us some time, 1997 to 2003, when the Michael Clark actually published his evidence of that solid tumor also has the similar property of cancer stem cells as we have in the blood cancer. So the marker which was identified for cancer stem cells for breast cancer was CD44 positive, 24 negative population. So here you see this example, CD34 positive, 24 positive population is not able to form any tumor. So 12 mouse were injected, 0 gave tumor. So these are the population which is in bulk, but CD44 positive, 24 negative population, 10 out of 10 mouse are giving cancer. right? Although it is isolated from the same patient, it has all the same tumor, same mutations in the cell, but it is only this cell which is forming cancer, and the cell which is having other marker is not able to form any cancer. So these are the two first evidences, one from the leukemia, other from the breast cancer, which actually set the whole field of cancer stem cells. So these are some of the experimental tool people used. So the method which was used was the lineage tracing. You expose the mouse to the carcinogen, and then you start to just see all different kind of cell from which cell the tumor is arising. With that, in 2012, August 2012, we got the first direct evidence that the cancer is arising from the stem cell population. Okay, if the carcinogen can have mutation, can cause mutation in all different kind of cells, differentiated stem cell, but this population which actually start to expand is the stem cell population, which was shown by real evidence using mouse model in August 2012. The other thing which was long in the history, we already knew that the type of genes which are expressed in the cancer cells are very similar to the gene which is associated with developmental biology. We became more confident when Bert Vogelstein again came up with his paper in Science in 2015. So he did a very simple experiment. So we already have observed that certain tissue in human body, they develop cancer in much lower frequency. So the lifetime risk of that particular tissue to get cancer is much lower. Okay, they are lower in the scale, but certain tissue, they have much higher frequency of the risk of developing cancer. So this spectrum we already knew. What he started to do is that he actually calculated how many times that particular tissue stem cell is dividing in a lifetime, and then he actually put these two numbers in corresponding to each other and did a regression analysis, and then it came very clear that the risk, if the tissue has a higher lifetime risk, like a colorectal cancer, hepatocellular carcinoma, they have higher number of stem cell division of the tissue. So the incidence of cancer became the function of stem cell division. We started with that the cancer is a disease of the function of age. Now we know that it is because of the stem cell division. Any tissue will develop cancer, but if the stem cell is dividing lower, that particular tissue will have lesser frequency or lesser risk of developing cancer than the tissue which is dividing, where the stem cell is dividing faster. So let's see how whether we can put into the clonal evolution model. The clonal evolution model is suggesting that the cells has started to accumulate mutation, then it needs several mutation to accumulate, and then eventually the cell which will be there, it will become cancerous, right? So now you think about this, that the cancer to develop, it takes 5 to 15 years. So the cell which will actually survive in the body for very long is the stem cell. The body stem cell pool is maintained, and the stem cell divides and keep on giving rise to the differentiated cells, which eventually gets rid of the body after their life is over. And then this stem cell will again divide and make that tissue, that cell again, right? So the cell which is actually surviving and undergoing clonal evolution is not the differentiated population, but the stem cell population. And this is what is the gist, the summary of cancer stem cell theory, that the cancer is originated from the stem cell and not any cell which is present in the body. So this why it takes so many years. The stem cell is dividing every time, but why it takes so many years? Because our genome is very big. The 3 billion base pairs are there in our genome, and the DNA polymerase makes error only 1 in 100,000 bases, right? The DNA polymerase makes error less frequently, and the genome is very big. and the only 1% of the genome is actually making proteins, right? So the mutation is happening random because of the error in DNA polymerase. The mutation is happening rare, so the chance that mutation will actually occur in a meaningful place which is actually the event which will actually cause cancer to grow, the chance of that event may be very very rare. That is why we are so lucky that the cancer stem cells may actually get mutation much early, but eventually when the cancer develops we are much older. The clonal evolution model in cancer stem cell was actually proven by this paper in again 2012 in leukemia again. So here this is the leukemic population, which is the clone which has actually expanded with, but the earlier generation could also be found in the mouse, and they were having lesser mutations than the clone which actually expanded and make the leukemia. So that suggested that there is a progenitor population, there is a precursor population which is accumulating one mutation by another mutation by another mutation to develop this heterogeneous clonal expanded cancer. So the stem cell, the clonal evolution of the stem cell could be proven also in August 2012. So now what we have studied so far is that cancer arise in self-renewing cell population that result in cancer, and the resulting cancer, like their normal organ counterparts, are composed of hierarchically organized cell population. Self-renewing cancer stem cells maintain tumor growth and generate the diverse population constituting of tumor bulk. So the stem cell theory of cancer proposes two major concepts. Okay, this concept is very very important. The cancer arise from stem cells that are present in the tissue of both children and mature adults. Okay, so that this way we can actually answer why the certain kids, the cancer is occurring only in the age of 2, because the cancer is actually occurring when the organ was developing. The postulation is cancers are composed of the same type of cells that are in the normal tissue, that is stem cells, transit amplifying cells, and terminally differentiated cells. So this is what composes the cancer. And the most important aspect of cancer stem cell is that it has given us the target. So generally now what we are doing is we are treating the cancer blindly without knowing whether we are treating cancer stem cells or non-cancer stem cells. Generally we are doing this chemotherapy, radiotherapy, which is targeting the non-cancer stem cells. There is ample proof suggesting that cancer stem cells are basically resistant to this treatment. Ultimately, if the cancer stem cells are left untreated, they can again differentiate and cancer can relapse. But if we have the treatment, ideally, if we have the cancer stem cell treatment against cancer stem cells, if you treat cancer stem cells, the differentiated cells don't have that much of life. So eventually they will just get eradicated from the cancer by itself, and then we have no relapse. This is the most ideal condition. But what is the problem? Problem is this, that when we started to work more and more on cancer stem cells, we found that the cancer stem cells comes in all different colors, shapes. You see that cancer stem cells have different markers. So this is the major hurdle, that cancer stem cells are very very heterogeneous. So this is what in a very brief summary, what we have understood cancer stem cells is this. We call cancer stem cells as cancer stem cells, stem-like cancer cells, or tumor-initiating cells. So you don't need to get confused about this. But the theory says that the normal cells, they actually start accumulating mutation. Eventually, they become malignant. The malignant stem cells still are accumulating mutation. They are undergoing clonal evolution. And this clonal evolution leading them to self-renew aggressively. Ultimately, all these cells, they differentiate and make the bulk of the tumor. In response to either the stress or the environmental signal, they can de-differentiate. They can reacquire the property of stem cells. And this is what we see in a developed solid tumor. So the stem cells are either coming from the stem cell population or it de-differentiating from the differentiated population. That is why we call them as stem-like cancer cells. We don't call them as cancer stem cells. or a stem cell. By definition, we to call them stem-like cancer cells because we don't know the origin of that. Now the question comes, and if we know so much about cancer stem cells, can we target them? So with this question, I started my lab. I collaborated with Tata Medical Center, and these are the two surgeons who were very, very interested to understand the stem cell cause of gingivobuccal oral cancer. I asked this simple question that despite having a load of cancer-driving mutations, whether stem-like cancer cells are still dependent on environmental signal for their function. Okay, so I told you about the field theory. So the observation came from there only, that if there is field which is the one which is regulating the behavior of cancer stem cells or not. So I will not go into the detail. The paper is already published in 2018. You can go and read about this. What we found is that irrespective of the mutation which is present in the cancer cell, if you change the environment, if you have the environment with fibroblast which has not undergone myofibroblastic differentiation. So these are undifferentiated fibroblasts. If you put these cells, the cancer cells, with these kind of cells, they have suppression of stem-like cancer cells. But if the environment has higher abundance of myofibroblastic calf, which is marked by higher expression of alpha smooth muscle actin, they don't have the suppressive ability. Basically, they enhance the stemness. So we have segregated patients. We have collected several patients. We have worked with the cells which is isolated from these patients, and also we have followed them after their treatment. So we know that the primary tumor had either this kind of scenario or this kind of scenario. So the patient which had low smooth muscle actin, the non-myofibroblastic calf, only 3 have recurred so far out of 22. But if the patient whose primary tumor had smooth muscle actin positive myofibroblastic calf, they actually have recurred 11. So 11 out of 24 has already recurred. So that suggests that whatever mutation they had, and whatever treatment they all got the same treatment. But just by the change, but just by their environment, they actually might be behaving very, very bad in the clinic. Okay, so myofibroblast is a type of fibroblast which is actually very much important for the process of wound healing. If we get cut, the myofibroblasts start to heal the tissue. But here, the cancer stem cells are actually utilizing that machinery to keep themselves kind of healing the tissue, which is actually cancer. If we get to know how these myofibroblastic calf is actually crosstalking with the cancer stem cells, we can actually block this crosstalk rather than because of the diversity in cancer, because of different type of mutations present in cancer, it might be difficult to target cancer per se based on the mutation or any other kind of therapy. But because this fibroblast is normal, they are not having any mutation. Only thing is their property is changed. Because of that, they are actually supporting this the whole cancer stem cell biology. So if we understand this crosstalk, we can actually target that, and this is where we are actually pushing ourselves to identify the target and to treat this cancer. The other way we can treat cancer is by molecule, by drugs. So because cancer stem cells are relatively resistant to conventional cancer therapies, including radiation and chemotherapy, generally this radiation and chemotherapy is given in the doses which is actually killing people, right? So they actually become toxic to the body. What we want is that we want to lower the dose of cancer this treatment and supplement it with the drug which is actually targeting cancer stem cells. So this is another field where the people are working. This paper is in Cell by Eric Lander, done by Piyush Gupta, where he actually screened a huge library, and he found only one drug which is called selenomycin. This is an antibiotic. So this drug actually targets cancer stem cell specific, the breast cancer stem cell specifically. So we also want to identify or get hold of the drug So I collaborated. He's Arindam Mukherjee in ICER Kolkata. So I am showing you the design of this drug. This is a drug which is a metal drug, which is like carboplatin, cisplatin. We have platinum in the drug. Here there is ruthenium in the drug. Okay, so this is the metal complex, and here he has fused it with a compound which is anti-inflammatory. This is a mesalazine which is used in chronic inflammation. When we use this complex to treat cancer, these are the spheres which I talked about, the sphere cultures of cancer stem cells, and you see that these drugs have reduced the size and show the oxaliplatin. This is the drug which is used in clinic for treating patient, and this is selunomycin, which I just showed you in the previous slide, that this is the drug which is against cancer stem cells. So, but the problem with oxaliplatin was that it was enhancing, although it is reducing the growth of the cancer stem cell, but it is enhancing stemness. You see this SOX2, OCT4, KLF4, ABCG2, these are all stem cell markers, and the stem cell marker is going up. However, the drug which we designed, which he has designed and we are working on it, this drug has just acted as the selunomycin. We are further improving this drug. My aim was to intrigue you with the field rather than going into the detail of what I do in specifically. So we are hugely working on understanding why cancer stem cell are heterogeneous, and whether we can actually understand the heterogeneity based on the environmental interaction. So this we call as the biology of solid tumor. The support we get it from India Alliance grant, which is given to me, and the intramural grant of NIBMG. With this, I would also like to take this opportunity to show this light to all those students who have joined here. If you want to understand whether you have opportunity in NIBMG or not, you go to our website. This is the website. We are also on Facebook and Twitter. You can see under the tab training, we have given the details about the PhD program. We have integrated PhD program for BSc, after BSc students, and we also give short-term training for your MSc curriculum.